You're watching and listening to The Daily Living Show with D. Elias.
Welcome to Daily Living. Today is one of the hot and trending topics that's hitting the news media right now, and it is all about electronic cigarettes. I am a co-owner in electronic cigarettes, La Cig, the electronic cigarette store. We opened in 2009, and to date, we have not had any problems with any of our products, period. We are members of the TVECA, which is Tobacco Vapor Electronic Cigarette Association. And with me today is Ray Story and Thomas Kiklas. Ray, I will start with you, and you can share with everyone your knowledge of the electronic cigarette industry.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. And yeah, we've been in the e-cigarette business for quite some time. I guess my claim to fame was to litigate against the FDA, the Justice Department, Department of Health and Human Services back in '08, which ultimately led to a victory for the e-cigarette category, as it was considered a illegal drug delivery device, and nicotine was considered a drug at the time, and therefore the entire product was banned across the U.S. I duplicated that process in Europe and changed the law in all 28 European countries when I sued the Netherlands, and then obviously pushed the European Union to accept it and to write it into law. Since then, we've been very busy within the category, but we're now focusing on next generation technology. So we've been here for quite a bit.
Tom, if you would share a little bit about your background in the electronic cigarette industry.
Sure. Thanks, Mike and Dee, for having us on today. I appreciate it quite a bit.
Absolutely.
A lot of disinformation out there. I, with our partners back in 2008, brought this funky looking product in. My partner created it in my office, and I didn't know what the thing was. I thought it was a cigarette in a filter. We took it out here in California to a local restaurant. We had 28 people walk over. Half said, "You can't smoke in here, get out of here." Other half were really curious about what the technology was. So we started in 2008, and we brought product to market. In the last 11 years, I have a company called Nickmax that I own with my partners. So we're also involved in the retail side of the business. In the last 11 years with our product Nickmax, we've have hundreds of thousands of clients, and to address, we have never had a single issue with any of our products causing harm to any client at all. Our products are pharmaceutical grade, and they're made in an FDA registered laboratory. The TVCA, which Ray and I co-founded, our members have the same guidelines. We've been very good stewards with this market. I've been pretty active with Ray. I did lobby in California back in 2009 when California and Governor Schwarzenegger were looking at banning the first e-cigs in the market, corporate bill SB 5. So we talked to Governor Schwarzenegger and his chief of staff, and we got them to veto the ban. Did the same with Illinois, Utah, City of New York. So my activities have been, along with Ray, in providing information and the science behind the technology, because the media does not take any time at all. Ray and I have done hundreds of interviews, and rarely, if ever, does media ask for the science behind the technologies or to talk to a pulmonologist that's recommending the e-vapor products to their clients. So that's a real issue that we're having, is getting information about the validity and the efficacy of the nicotine-based products to the market.
Right. So electronic cigarettes has been in the United States roughly about 11 years. Why all of a sudden are they getting bad publicity?
As we mentioned prior to this interview, there's a conflation of what a vapor product is. The term vaping means vaporizing, and vaporizing something. Could be steam, could be water, could be nicotine, a nicotine liquid, a THC liquid, a CBD liquid. So the media journalists don't take the time of learning what is being vaporized. The analogy I use is you have a stove and you have a pot on the stove. You put chicken in that pot, and it has salmonella in it, and you get sick from the salmonella. Well, it wasn't cooking that created the poisoning. It was what you put into the pot that created the problem. The issues you're having today are the confusion of the media and journalists understanding what is being vaporized. The issues today that haven't been here, have been on the market for the last 11 years, are that people are now vaporizing bootleg THC, CBD products, and other liquids that are tainted with vitamin E acetate and other chemicals that are not meant to be vaped. It's really that simple.
On September the 11th, Tom, you put out a press release. Kind of touch on what is in the press release.
Just a recapping what I just told you is that there's a misconception of the media when they say that vaping is harming people. They're not denoting which vapor product is harming people. It's certainly not nicotine-based products. Nicotine-based e-vapor products have been used for 11 years, billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of uses without a single incidence of harm. And I can make that claim because I've spoken with the largest insurer in the nicotine-based e-vapor market, and he verifies that he has never had a single claim of somebody being harmed by any nicotine-based e-vapor product. Now, have batteries failed? Lithium-ion? Yes, they have. Those are typically the larger mod units. They're not the smaller e-vapor units themselves. So the point of our press release was to say, hey, media, learn what the actual issue is. Learn that it's not nicotine-based e-vapor. It's other products that are being vaporized that are causing the issue. It's not the nicotine-based e-vapor market itself.
Right. Me personally, I mean, I have seen elderly people that have smoked for many, many, many years that have driven hours to come to my store to give me a hug and thanking me for their lungs getting better, and they no longer need an inhaler due to COPD and other health-related issues. So there's a lot of good that I've saw throughout the years I've seen that's come from electronic cigarettes, and it's definitely intended for those to not smoke cigarettes, which has killed, and you put this in the press release, about 450,000 Americans. Annually. That's exactly right. And Ray, you had talked earlier about Tide Pods. Tell us, kind of give your analogy in that.
Well, when I read all the articles, and obviously Google is full of them, when people are talking about how menthol potentially has carcinogens or create carcinogens or nitrosamines when used. I mean, they're talking about specific products in that particular case, but overall, they never really provide us with the name of the brand. So they're not trying to stop an issue, because if they were trying to stop an issue, then they would name the brand and say, do not buy this, as they do in, for instance, Thomas's example of bad chicken. They immediately call out the company so that you don't sit there and eat the tainted products. In this particular case, they never throw out any names. That in itself is extremely irresponsible. It's disgusting, actually, because all they're trying to do is kill a category that they cannot own. And I'll touch base on that in a second. But to put things in perspective, it's horrible that 6 individuals lost their lives because of the fact that they were not educated on the product and potentially bought a product that appeared to be a good product, but clearly was not. And there were some other ingredients added to that product that made that product extremely toxic. And so the same thing happens in other cases, as I told you earlier. I mean, Tide had 10 deaths. I believe it's last year or 2017, 10 deaths just from eating Tide Pods. But over 7,000 poisonings have been reported. And certainly the e-cigarette category doesn't have that particular problem. I mean, yes, we've had some battery failures, we had some of these things, but that all can be resolved if you allow the technology to evolve. And that's really what the issue is right now with the category, that the way the FDA and the PMTA process is set up, it's very difficult for the technology to evolve when you can only go with technology that was there once you registered your product. And so it's a catch-22. If you actually come up with something that could be the holy grail, you're going to have a hard time getting it into the market because you have to file a PMTA first before getting that product into the market. If you're grandfathered in, then at that point in time, you're dealing with old technology. So with that said, it's a little bit backwards, but then understand that, at this particular time, as you see these negative articles come out, as another negative article came out on mint flavors. I mean, we already know that food flavors are not supposed to be used in products that are designed for pulmonary inhalation. And a lot of people that are just too ignorant, too stupid, lack the intelligence, whatever you want to call them, and I would like to call them all those things, are doing that anyway because they truly don't understand. They're not scientists, and they don't understand the ramifications of potentially inhaling products that were not designed for pulmonary inhalation. So that's one. But the second thing is that the industry now has certain issues that they're going to have to face because at the end, a PMTA has to be filed if you want to stay in this business. And that is going to be an issue that is going to be discussed by many, but the issue remains that unless you own the hardware and own the liquid, it is almost useless to file a PMTA because you're going to spend a gazillion dollars on something that you will never own. So that's a little bit of an issue. We can touch base on that a little bit later on the call, but there are so many things that the FDA now is doing that they feel like they have the ability to shut this category down because at the end of the day, the judge demanded that this process for the PMTA filing was shortened by what is it, almost a year and a half, and that now it's due all in about 8.5 months, I believe. The FDA can't do anything about that. That's a judge's order, and so anybody that wants to sue the FDA would be wasting their time because, let's face it, the FDA no longer is in the position where they can grant anybody more time because the judge's order is final. So we have a little bit of a pickle in the category, but that doesn't have to be the end of the road, but it does require everybody to sharpen their pencil and get really creative and try to make this category what it is, which is a product that has helped and reduced the nicotine addiction from conventional tobacco cigarettes and put it into a vaporizer that is vastly less harmful and has helped a lot of people transition. So this category will survive. We just hope that everybody on this call and everybody that's watching this has the same abilities to survive and continue to sell this great product.
Is there something that vape shops, vape owners can do to help stop this process?
The process of the PMTA? No. Is that what you're asking, Dee?
Yes.
At the end of the day, look, all vape shops can do, and they need to understand vape shops were not the reason for what's happening and what we're seeing today. There's only one entity that's responsible for that, and that's JUUL. I mean, they actually now it's obviously no longer a secret that they went to high schools and educated teenagers on the dangers of smoking and basically stated that their JUUL pods were safe. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, A, it's making a claim. B, it's target marketing to a segment of the population that should not even have been involved with this category. I'm all about freedom of choice, but once you're an adult, according to whatever state you live in, because that seems to change too. But once you're adult, then you should be able to do what you want to do. But in this particular case, they went way too far, and it's their marketing practices that obviously put the pressure on the entire category. Right. So I think that whatever, in my opinion, any shop or any company that's currently selling e-cigarettes is find out what your products are and then try to cut a deal with the manufacturer and have that manufacturer go into filing a PMTA with you and so that you have the ability to sell your product, or just become a reseller for them, and then you still have the ability to sell it, and they will be the ones importing it, and you'll just be a store selling it and no longer be the name brand, most likely, unless you you allow them to use your name brand, and those are the ways around it, in my opinion. And I think that everybody needs to really, if they're wanting to continue in this category, is really going to have to watch out on how they do it, because there are ways, but obviously it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle.
Is JUUL's misrepresentation the reason why some states are now trying to ban electronic cigarettes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
without question. JUUL is the impetus. And again, we don't want to negatively call anybody out, because our products are has so much efficacy for people to transition. I, as a business owner, Bill as a business owner, Ray as a business owner, I have a lady who literally was a 45-year smoker and had COPD, and her pulmonologist said, "You are going to be on oxygen in 6 months. You have to stop smoking." She tried everything, and nothing worked until she had an e-vapor product. She came to me a couple months ago and said, "Tom, COPD is gone. My lungs are clear. You got to use my Story." Our problem is that we as a trade association, for one, and we as a company, two, cannot make mitigating claims. The CDC is awful when it comes to providing viable information about our products and our category. When I did the doctor show, they hit me with this thing called a Christie ad. And the Christie ad was this lady showing a scar. And the ad said, "I started using e-cigs, but kept on smoking right up until my lung collapsed." Well, what the hell does using e-cigs have to do with your lung collapse due to your smoking? I started working out, but I kept on smoking. This is the CDC, mind you. We had the same issue with the FDA back in 2009, where the FDA said that we found an ingredient, the ethylene glycol, an ingredient used in antifreeze. So we asked the FDA, okay, what amount of toxin did you find? And they wouldn't tell Ray and I. So we kept asking and kept asking. And we finally got them to send us the information. And all they said was detected and non-detected. Okay? They said, no, not good enough. I need the numbers. We need the numbers. And we finally got the numbers. And the ethylene glycol was at 0.0006% in one unit. And I showed them the passage.
By the way, Thomas, that was from the glue from the package and had nothing to do with the e-cigarette. Yeah. But that's a completely different story.
Well, and again, the FDA, though, I showed them the FDA allows ethylene glycol in food products, below 0.02. So again, it's this disinformation that is out there about our category, and unfortunately, we can't combat that. We can't make mitigating claims. I can't tell Pamela's story, but vapers can. Vapers can contact media and say, "You're wrong. My mother was saved by vapor products. You're not telling the true story." Because if you Google my name, CNN called up and said, "Tom, we want to do a story on e-cigs." I go, "Again, Lori, so you want to do a story about how well they're working and transitioning people away from the one product?" "No, we want to talk about batteries that are exploding." So Lori, Google my name, put in Kiklas CNN exploding, and you'll see 6, 7 of the same friggin' interview. Just cut and paste my name. If you're not going to talk to me and have a pulmonologist come on and talk about how our products are effectively helping people, then don't talk to me. So the issue we have is getting the message out that nicotine-based products that are sold by responsible manufacturers are vastly less harmful. And if you can see this, this is what I typically show people on my wall here. You see half of the ingredients that are in a tobacco cigarette, and then all the ingredients that are in an electronic cigarette.
Absolutely.
So, it's just a matter of, for 11 years, there hasn't been an issue. You haven't heard issues. There were some in 2008 and 9. They talked about toxins, but we got over that, because the mere detection of a toxin is irrelevant. It's at what level is it found that makes it a poison. So they first hit our category with, "Oh, there's toxins found in e-cigs," and we fought that battle and they won. Now they had nothing to combat us, because they view nicotine as the evil. Nicotine is heroin. So many people don't understand that nicotine is just simply a naturally occurring compound. It's actually categorized as a secondary stimulant. Caffeine and nicotine are not harmful products at all. But the nicotine went the evil route into Marlboro, and caffeine went the Diet Pepsi route. So nicotine is vastly misunderstood. But what vapors can do, honestly, we can't make claims that we're safer or better for you, but vapors can get together and bombard the media saying, I'm alive today because of vapor. Tell my story.
Right.
They never tell the story of people that use vapor successfully. I've never seen, 11 years have I seen CNN, NBC, anybody say that, God, Pamela had COPD and the patch didn't work, the gums didn't work for her. Patches fail 95% of the time. Gums fail 95. They need to hand them out, for one. And then the nicotine that we use, and then the way we design our products, are vastly less harmful and very effective in helping people transition and get over these issues associated with smoking.
My dad, he died in 2001, and he died from smoking related illness. Back then, I had not, electronic cigarettes were not even thought of yet, to my knowledge. I would have, if they were, had my dad on the product, and hopefully he would be alive today.
Well, Greg Gutfeld on Fox News had a great line. He said, if e-vapor was available 50 years ago, there'd be a whole generation of people still alive today.
Right.
So again, on this podcast, the products that we sell and the industry has sold. Now, there have been bad players. The TVECA, since 2009, if you go to our website and look at our compliance issues, the first three are no sales of targeting, marketing of minors at all. We address those in our first three issues.
Right.
So this issue we addressed, and Ray, by bringing the litigation Ray brought, which settled as Cetera, that made them a legal tobacco product, not available to kids. The issue are those states that have tobacco licensees who have retail tobacco licenses. Once a product leaves my warehouse, I can't police who sells it. I can't police who gets a hold of it at all. So, it's almost, stop blaming e-vapor companies for the sales and marketing of minors. Now, JUUL has been complicit, and the FDA has found documents saying they were fully aware of kids using their products. And as Ray said, their insanity. I mean, they are a major reason, yes, that this issue has been, it's just conflation of both. The JUUL issue with kids getting hold of a 50 milligram product in a nicotine salt, with then vapor products that are non-nicotine based that have tainted and bootleg constituents in them that are harmful. And it's just this conflation of this point in time, but it's disinformation to claim that nicotine e-vapor products are dangerous. And vapors have to call media and give testimonial stories of friends, family, and yourselves who have successfully transitioned to vapor, because that story is not getting out.
Right. And we all know a lot of them.
Oh, there's millions of stories, but I have not seen one media story of successfully going from smoking to a vapor product and their life being saved. Because we can't make those claims, but vapors can.
And Ray, I know Mike and I have worked with you over since 2009, or maybe we met you
2011.
About 2011, I'm thinking, to make sure that we marketed our products correctly. No cartoons, we've all been very careful about doing that. Absolutely.
Mike was not happy about that cartoon. He's not like, as I'm a big fan of pigs.
Right.
I'm glad you guys listened to that, because that would have been, you guys would have had a bullseye on your back for sure.
Right. Absolutely. And that's not that was not our intention at all. Our goal is to help. I was a heavy smoker for quite a few years. I've lost quite a few relatives due to smoking. So our goal was to help people transition away from tobacco cigarettes. And that's what everybody, you and Tom as well. What about, because the news media keeps throwing in all the flavors?
Go ahead, Ray.
The problem is, look, flavors have always been a point for discussion for everybody. And in the beginning, it was because of popcorn lung and all the additives that they added to it that were, again, not approved for pulmonary inhalation. They were a food product, et cetera, et cetera. So now that we've gotten over that hurdle, now they're obviously talking about flavors, because they believe that flavors are the catalyst as for the reason why everybody, all the children are using these products. but that was done with intention. I mean, certainly by JUUL, you can get the tobacco flavors in a lower strength, but their flavors were only available in 50 milligrams. So they knew that, most individuals, if they haven't smoked before and you were looking to start a new generation on products, to go ahead and make it as strong as possible so that you're going to have that addiction kick in immediately. And so therefore they provided all the flavors only in 50 milligrams. So in every way, shape, or form have they created that issue. I had a conversation on NPR and was asked that same question: what about flavors? I personally have no problem with flavors. I mean, you have flavors in everything we do. I mean, you can go out and buy a chocolate wine. You can do whatever you want and find whatever flavors in almost anything.
Mhm.
But they have to be flavors that are in line with what adults would think would be a tasty flavor. I mean, at the end of the day, Captain Crunch e-liquid, first of all, I think it is a trademark infringement, and I think that those regulatory bodies that deal with that need to deal with that immediately,
Mhm.
especially if it's even close. They need to deal with it immediately and shut them down. And then on the other hand is those flavors really cannot be amongst their top sellers unless they only sell to kindergartens and high schoolers. So they can't, financially, it cannot, be a big hit for them if they were to discontinue those flavors. They're only making those flavors to create a buzz amongst a segment of the population, and that's why they're doing it. That's why they use cartoon characters. That's why they use all the different um, aspects of what intrigues these miners, and that certainly has done it. And so I'm all about getting rid of flavors as long as it's not a straight up flavor from mint or apple or pineapple or strawberry or chocolate. All those things, in my opinion, is a freedom of choice. I mean, certainly once you smoke, and quit smoking, then you're going to get a lot of your taste buds back. And there's a desire for those adults to to stray off the tobacco route and say, you know what, I wouldn't mind having a little bit of a flavor.
Right.
And I certainly like a little flavor, so therefore my flavor has always been coffee. But that said, if somebody had a flavor and they said we like strawberry only, then if you're an adult, you certainly have the right to choose. So I wouldn't be so worried about the flavors being banned. I think that that's premature. Will there be, an entity cracking down on all those irresponsible players that are looking to make a buck and come out with all these ridiculous flavors, these ridiculous names, and then
Right.
infringing on trademarks that are tens, if not hundreds of years old to try to, get some of these people to buy their product or create a name for themselves so that they can piggyback on the web by by driving that cartoon and that flavor into a certain segment of the population. I mean, I'm out on that. They can cancel and ban all those products for all I care because it doesn't do anything for the category. I mean,
Right.
I always felt this category should have been developed and protected so that we could get rid of conventional tobacco. When we started this, nobody ever heard, and certainly no company ever made statements saying they wanted to get rid of conventional tobacco altogether by the year 2025. And now the biggest in tobacco are stating that exactly. So we certainly have improved our position, but the fight's not over yet because obviously if big tobacco takes over and then big pharma takes over above a certain nicotine threshold, then all the individual companies that have driven the growth of this category will obviously disappear, and we need to stop that from happening. So
Without question. And also, if you look at the percentage of Americans that smoke, it's dramatically decreased since we got in market. I believe that one of the tobacco companies saw an 8% decline in their tobacco cigarette sales in 1 quarter, on this last quarter. So Americans are starting to because we were locked at about $4.5 billion in sales for a couple 3 years, and now we're up above 9 million, 11 million users, and over 9 billion, almost $10 billion in sales right now. So again, but Ray and I, years ago, we were coming across when the open source started to become a viable product. People were whipping up these liquids, and they would have liquids at 50, 60, and 70 milligrams per milliliter. And I talked to Ray and said, man, we gotta address the issue of what's the upper threshold of safety when it comes
Right.
to nicotine in a product. So Ray put together a call with some nicotine and some liquid makers and scientists, and on our website you'll see a level of 3.6%. We felt was the threshold of nicotine at that point in time in a propylene glycol base. So now you have these nicotine salts at 50 milligrams, and some out there at 60 and 70 milligrams. So I have to question the safety of those products because, again, for the last 11 years, you haven't seen levels really above 3.5% of the market till recently. But again, it's the issue of the disinformation. And again, when it comes to flavors, again, you have strawberry vodka. Where do you want to go? You know,
Yeah,
where do you
Thomas,
Right.
address also, Thomas, what you talked to about with my good friend and now your good friend, what he stated the average strength of the nicotine was in Europe, because obviously the European level for all nicotine products is 2%. And then in Germany, it's actually a little lower than that because you have to be below a certain threshold of nicotine, otherwise it becomes a poison. So it's actually a little bit lower than that in some places. But when you talk to our good friend Max, what did he tell you the average user uses for nicotine strength in their vaporizer?
Yeah, in Europe it's zero point 0.9 is what they're at, and they're mostly open source. So they have their average is in an open source zero point 0.9. Now, but their majority in Europe, are they not, Ray, about 70% mods and not cigarette products?
No, there's a lot of cigarette products too.
Okay.
A lot of cigarette.
But he mentioned, yeah, 0.9. So again,
And it's coming back now. Obviously now the pot system, but there was a lot of cigarette products for sure.
yeah. So, but again, we addressed. I mean, all these issues have been we addressed them the TVCA back in 2009, 2010, and again, go tvca.com and look at our compliance regulations for our members. And like I said, the industry has been very good stewards of taking care and making sure that, like when the popcorn lung issue came up, it was killed right away. It was taken care of right away. So that was self-policing. So the industry, now are there bad guys? Not other companies that put out, Fruit Loops flavored liquids? Absolutely, and that's irresponsible. Vastly irresponsible. You don't need to do that at all. Because again, we tell these companies, you're hurting the category, man. And there's gonna be a point in time that those that don't like us, the CDC and other entities that just think nicotine is demonic, are going to start using flavors as a target to get us off the market, and you're seeing that today. Irresponsible use of flavors and target marketing with kid flavors, and we addressed that years ago. So that's kind of.
I want to touch base on that. I mean, if you see, there seems to be a big push from the Democrats, and I've certainly had my fights with all of them, and even called them out on the Senate floor. But you can Google that and watch that YouTube at your discretion. But my point is that on the Democrat side, they seem to have no problem legalizing marijuana everywhere, but yet e-cigarettes is the kiss of death. And we need to find out why that is. And that's obviously because there's no taxes on the product, so there's no gain for them, because obviously they like to tax everything they can tax.
Exactly right.
The issue was that with marijuana and THC, they had the ability to sell licenses very quickly without any barrier to entry. And so now they have, because of the master settlement money is running out from big tobacco, now they have a new cash flow item that they can start pushing. And therefore, it seems to have no issue to selling individuals drugs that will actually alter the function of mind and body. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be no problem. But yet, and that's one of the reasons why the left media has not pushed a story about THC-laced e-cigarettes, because it would literally put they will have egg on their face once the story comes out, because they know they are the ones that pushed for the legalization of marijuana. So with that said, obviously, I think that, although Trump was pretty harsh initially about trying to get rid of certain products, but we know how he works. He fires a shot, and then he does his due diligence. Once he does his due diligence, he finds out that this product has literally transformed many, many, many lives across the globe not even just in the U.S., and has allowed people to transition away from the deadliest product on the planet. So, with that said, I'm not so worried about the flavor ban. Would I applaud him trying to push for trademark infringements on these monster Fortune 500 companies with these products that these irresponsible players put out? Yes, and marketing to kids, yes. And I certainly hope that a PMTA will be denied to JUUL because they are an issue and they have caused another question of public health, which is
Right.
one of the main questions on the PMTA application. Will this product create another issue for public health? And in this particular case, yes, you did. So hopefully they will not get a PMTA, but then we'll see. Money talks and the rest walks, as we know. So maybe they'll throw enough money at it, and they can do something that we all know they potentially have the ability to do. But I certainly hope that those in charge will not waver to pressure or to potential financial contributions to get that done, because
Right.
they are truly a company that's caused every single issue we have right now and accelerated.
Absolutely. I also just want to add about nicotine. There are certain foods that we eat, they're called nightshade foods, that has traces of nicotine in them, such as tomatoes and potatoes and several other things. And back in the day, it was taboo for you to eat them because of the traces of nicotine. So we're all getting a little bit of nicotine in our body when we eat those certain foods anyway.
Well,
Yeah, it's a not natural occurring alkaloid, and tomatoes obviously is the second highest concentration of nicotine besides tobacco plants. So, look, it's a fun question to ask people. When was the last time you used nicotine? Most of them will say never, and look at
Right.
you, a very disturbed look, like how dare you, and say, okay, well you must not like pizza then, because at the end of the day, tomato is the second highest concentration of
Right.
nicotine besides tobacco plants. But most people don't know that, and as Tom has alluded to it earlier, one went the Diet Pepsi route and the other one went the tobacco route. And, caffeine and nicotine are very, very, very closely, related, and both true, addictive, no question about it. But your body has the tendency and has the ability, and it does, to regulate those. So for you to
Right.
overdose on nicotine or caffeine is unheard of. So it's all the other issues and all the other products, the byproducts, and obviously in conventional cigarettes, the carcinogen nitrosamines and the tar that will have you keel over. But in our product, that's not the case. So
Right. What else, guys?
well, actually,
that's touching
years ago, well, just years ago, I did it. We did on the TVCA. We did some follow up. There's actually was a out of Indiana, a lady named Carla Snegas, and she was head of the Indiana Bureau of Tobacco, and she said, "I don't believe in harm reduction. I don't believe in it. Quit or die." So you have bureaucrats that are in holding responsible positions that don't believe in our technology either. So we've been fighting for 10 years. God, 11 years now. We've been fighting this on an annual basis. I thought by now, we would be heroes for the work that we have done, and we should be. The industry
Right.
should shown in a light of saving lives. And again, to those that are watching this video, I mean, again, as I said, we can't get the message out of how many lives we saved, but vapors can. I think vapors
Right.
should just start calling media and bombard them with stories of my mom's alive, my grandma's alive, my brother's alive, my sister had COPD. She used a vapor product, because the media either doesn't, and they don't want to tell the story. But if vapors bombard enough media with stories, somebody at some point in time is going to have to tell the story that nicotine-based e-vapor products are saving lives. And the point of the press release, and hopefully of this call, is to alert the people that it's a conflation. It's the confusion of what vaping is. Again, it's a mechanical thing that vaporizes something. What is that something? And Ray said is right. If Foster Farms chickens are tainted, you hear of a recall of Foster Farms chicken. It's really very, very obvious that by not putting out what brand of e-vapor product is causing, to this day, they have not mentioned a brand that has poisoned somebody.
Right.
They say nicotine-based vaporizing vapor products have killed and are harming people. what is the name of the product? And I did the doctor show. It was the same thing. You guys are marketing to minors. Said, give me the name of the company and give me the marketing campaign. This is 2015, before JUUL at all. So they make these general statements of sales and marketing to minors. Okay, name me the company and name me the campaign. There is no e-vapor company going, hey kids, try our Fruity Pebbles e-vapor product. Now, is it implicit that you have a fruity? And we tell these companies, knock it off. Don't use cereals to market the products. You know, but in general, it's the message that nicotine-based e-vapor products have saved hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives. But to this day, story's not been told. 11 years into this, and again, guys, we can't make those claims.
What the news medias are doing right now is instilling fear about vaping in general, and that is just not right.
Well, but it's part of the agenda. The agenda, as you know, media tends to shift left, and nicotine is one of their taboo products. So anybody on the nicotine market is going to be demonic, and anybody that sells nicotine product is about, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the stories. I don't want to hear that your aunt is saved, her life was saved. Don't want to hear it. Nicotine is bad. Get it off the market any way possible. So again, we cannot make the case to the public that we are a vastly less harmful product and tell our success stories. That's the sad part of the position we're in. We can't tout the safety of our products. But the people watching this get together and figure out a way to bombard the New York Times, bombard CNN, bombard MSNBC, and say,
all your representatives.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
start with the representatives. Start with local news medias and work your way up. Just do something every day.
Let them know you have a voice.
Absolutely. We all need to have a voice right now.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I agree.
Ray, was there something you were going to add a while ago?
No, we were talking. Well, actually, yes, and then we can do that on some other time, because obviously, I think this podcast covers a lot of information, and I don't want to drag it on to where people are losing interest and not willing to watch the next one. But we can probably do one on regulatory issues and how to get through the PMTA process and what you should do and what you should watch out for and how you should prepare yourself. Because I think that's
absolutely
because most of these companies are not going to do anything because they just think it's too expensive.
Right.
There should be a way to get around some of that stuff.
That's exactly what we'll work on for the next podcast. In the meantime, anyone out there that has been vaping, that it has improved the quality of their life, I hope that they contact their representative, make their voice be heard.
Please share this video.
Please share this video. If you have any comments, questions, you can leave them in the comment section below. We will post up the TVECA press release that anyone can look over as well. And if there's any other information Tom, you or Ray would like to add as well, we can add it. And they can also go on to your website, TVECA.com, and you have a wealth of information there as well.
11 years of it.
11 years of it.
Again,
I know that I've known you guys for many years.
You call him 24/7. He sleeps with his phone. It's right next to his ear. 24/7. Let me give you a personal
7 days a week.
Yeah, I would say that, also what the TVCA is about also is advancing the technology, and we can do it on a later podcast, but Ray and I have spent an awful lot of time and money the last 5 years developing new generation of e-vapor products that's all
stuff that obviously has nothing to do with the regulatory stuff. So we don't want to tout and toot our own horn. So we'll have that discussion at one point in time.
Absolutely.
But we're hard at work at improving the industry through technology ourselves.
No question.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much, and we will definitely get you back on very soon.
Okay. Thanks, Mikey D. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a wrap.
Bye-bye. Please support our sponsor, RenovationTea.com. You'll find a large variety from daily to specific herbal remedy teas, all certified organic and fair trade. Use DL10 to get a 10% discount. You can find details in the description below. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss an episode.